What brings most people to blockchain and crypto is the hysterical level of hype on the rise of ICOs and crypto trading volumes. While making a quick buck is certainly very attractive, there is a lot more going on in the industry that is worth being aware of. In this following conversation, we are going to push blockchain awareness beyond the hype and explore some of its countless implications in business and government. Our guest is a technology futurist, corporate and ICO advisor, public speaker, and a successful author featured as a success story by the Department of Economic Development in Dubai. Please welcome Muhammad Salman. So, hello, Muhammad. Thank you very much for being our guest today, and welcome to the Online Crypto Summit.
Thank you very much for having me on the Online Crypto Summit, and I'm very delighted to be here.
Sure. So can you share a bit about your background and how are you currently involved in the world of blockchain and crypto?
My background is basically a learning and development. Throughout my corporate tenure of 16, 17 years, I was the head of the learning and development for different organizations. And that is basically what brought me into the world of blockchain. Last year, around the same time frame, I was exploring the implications of blockchain in my world, which is people management, HRM, learning and development. So what I found in a quick succession that there is a big utility of blockchain in people management and in general in the corporate world, in the enterprise world. Till then, what the perception was, and still there is a big perception of the people that blockchain are the cryptocurrencies, the application is for the public blockchains and only for the crypto exchanges, for the trade, basically. No, it's the other way around. The biggest application is in the enterprise level. Yes, it's a peer-to-peer like a communication channel, but at the same time, exchange channel, but at the same time, that is more relevant to the enterprise world. There, the transactions happen on this every second basis, not like peer-to-peer do the transactions on like a random basis or very occasional basis. Enterprise level, yes, they require immutable data. They require all kind of features which the blockchain is bringing in. So that was my start of exploring blockchain. And I'm very happy till now I have figured out quite a bit of a strategic applications in different domains and work functions of enterprises.
Great. So would you share a bit more on the enterprise application of the blockchain? And you mentioned people management and HR. Can you talk a bit about that as well?
All right, so I'll start with the application of blockchain on the people management side. We have at the moment one social network for the professionals, which is called LinkedIn. When we talk about the limitations of LinkedIn, the biggest limitation is that any day, anytime, anywhere, you can change the data. Today, I'm serving in one company. The next day, I can write about the other company. The next day, I can get another degree. So it's like something which is very much like not giving a credibility for the information. And this information, since it's based on the professional data, has to be very credible, has to be very accurate. And that is missing part. When we have social network for professionals on blockchain, this thing can be covered up. It can help the recruiters, it can help the applicants as well. There will be a transparency, there will be like other benefits which currently LinkedIn and such other social media networks are not providing. So this is the benefit for the blockchain side for the people management.
So basically, it will not allow you to change your history record of your previous jobs and degrees.
Yes, yeah, that's one of the area. For example, other one is that if we have our degrees on blockchain, the recruiters will not be required to go and validate it through some government agency or some other like a broker, not broker, but other agents. So that can be done efficiently on the blockchain. So this is another advantage of blockchain for the people management side. Then again,
actually, I'm speaking with some guys from the Open University project. I don't know if you heard about it, but they are doing exactly that. They're putting all the transcripts and degrees on the blockchain for recruiters and for students and universities to access and to exchange. So yeah, that is a really good, cool thing.
Yes, this is one area where like people are working on for the people management side. Then for the learning and development, again, we learn a lot through informal channels. For example, we learn something from YouTube. we learn something from the conference, but there is no credit for that. And that again blockchain can bring in. For example, if all these learning channels are put on the blockchain, whosoever is completing that exercise, or whosoever is completing that, like the contribution in some kind of a conference as a teamwork, something that in the project someone is doing something, so that will help the person to complete it in the way that this will be a good like area for a blockchain to cover up. So that's the area.
So would you share some other examples of use cases for the blockchain at the enterprise level?
Yeah, these days I'm working with one company as a CRO, Chief Relationship Officer, that is the blockchain for the shipping industry. The company's name is Bitnautic, and Bitnautic is a Swiss-based company, and that is bringing in the disruptive platform for shipping industry. There are like so many loopholes in conventional or legacy technology for the like shipping industry. So when we put all the ecosystem of shipping industry on one blockchain, and everyone can interact, get some services as a brokers, as agents, can offer some services, do some e-commerce relevant to the again shipping area. So this is a big strategic implication of blockchain for a very niche industry, which is the shipping industry. So we are like actually assuming it to become as a Uber of shipping industry. So that's like a big advantage. Once it will be getting completed, this can be done. This can be achieved as a Uber of shipping industry on blockchain, which will be immutable, unhackable, and all these with the features of these things on it. So this is one application for the supply chain. There are like million other applications, for example, on the finance side, fintech side. So that also people are working in, the blockchain experts are working on that part. Regulators can get so much of the advantage because I did a case study with the Aviation Authority of General Civil Aviation of UAE. What that case study brought forward is that regulators probably have biggest application for blockchain. When all the ecosystem players will be on blockchain, the data will be the exchange of data will be very super efficient, the decision making will be quick, and there will be smart contracts between the different players on the blockchain. So that all will be helpful for the complete utility of blockchain in the like a very efficient manner. So which legacy system is not providing. So, at the moment, standardization of data between the different players of any industry is very hard to achieve. So when all ecosystem players will be on the blockchain, there will be very easy for them to do a standardization of data. Interoperability will be easy, but this is where the blockchain experts are working on.
Do you mean on the government level?
Yes, it can be on a government level. It can be on, for example, non-government level. Any regulators, there are some regulators for the any specific industry sometimes. So that will be also, it will be easy for them to just regulate based on the blockchain. Since the exchange of information is very smooth, and all the ecosystem players are having the similar kind of a data or information or transactions when they can like be on blockchain.
Hmm. Oh, as you're based in Dubai, could you maybe go a little bit into sharing what's going on in there and how what was the Dubai approach to blockchain? I know that a lot of interesting things are going on right now. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, you can see the smile on my face, and when we talk about blockchain and Dubai, definitely it's the one of the best use case are soon to becoming practical in like probably next year or by next year. So a lot is happening when it comes to Dubai government goals about the blockchain. They have a very clear vision about putting all of their government transactions on a blockchain, and that they have a target to do around 2020. And currently, the the players who are like decision makers in this like implementation, they are very serious about the implementation, and every week there is like some kind of updates happening, and implementation progress has been reported to the decision makers. Okay, this is what we have already achieved. Yes, it's an immature or relatively novice technology, and not of challenges are coming up in the implementation of blockchain in at such a scale. But yes, this is how you achieve results. You have to do something to remove the errors from the system or improve the system by implementation, it not just by doing research, R&D. So that's the best part, that Dubai is not just doing R&D, they are basically implementing it. And probably a year later, everyone, most of the other governments or the regulatory authorities will follow the Dubai's pattern. So this is a like a huge inroads they are doing at the moment in
So
terms
can you
of
share
blockchain.
a few government use cases that they will be implementing the technology?
Yeah, the land records they are putting on the blockchain. That's a big thing. That by 2020, all the land records, Dubai, we all know, is a paradise for the real estate, and so much is happening in this space. And it once it will be all secured on blockchain, like people can retrieve the any kind of a land record. Maybe when we are talking about 2120, like 100 years later, something will be available because of the time stamping feature of the blockchain and other features. So this is a big thing, that land records will be there. The inter-department transactions. When we talk about governments, they do so many transactions in between them, and those all will be on the blockchain. There will be efficient exchange of they are coming up with their own internal kind of intra government kind of a token or currency, not for the public but they for their own, and that they will be using it for the transactions of within the departments of the government. And third, they are also bringing with the other technologies like biometric. One application they are bringing in a, like again in coming years, probably by 2020 again it will be ready. People will just come and out of the plane when they will enter into Dubai, they will just pass through a tunnel, and that tunnel will be doing a biometric analysis of the person. They don't need to show any document like passport or any other kind of an ID. That system will do it, the ID of the person, through blockchain as a background technology, and the biometrics from the eye retina will be doing the ID management of the person. And this in within 15 seconds, once you will pass through that tunnel, you will be doing your immigration. There is no passport control department, and people will be just relaxed as they normally are walking in some area. So that's how they are using blockchain with other technologies for this revolutionary purpose.
Hmm.
And there are others as well. Yeah, please.
So do you think the blockchain could be put into a good use for fighting corruption at the government level as well?
That's a very good question. That I think, as I earlier mentioned, that regulators or the governments are could be the biggest beneficiary of blockchain. And one of the best application or use case or the benefit of the blockchain is doing the transparency, and time stamping gives you the tracking of any kind of a transaction between two or three or whatever the number of players who are interacting in the transaction. So the governments can like prevent frauds. Like for example, if we take the example of a land management, if the one land is been assigned to one person with exact measurements and all that specs which normally the land has with it, no one can now duplicate it, and no one can come up with its secondary version or something fake version. So once it is on a blockchain, no one can do the second like a copy for that. And that's where the fraud prevention can come in. Transactions again, if people have enough like reserves for their transactions, smart contracts will be like enforcing them to just do those transactions. They cannot say, okay, we have 2 million in our kitty and we can spend or we can pay off these bills. The smart contract will ensure, okay, this person has probably 1 million, and from that moment it will not allow it to do some kind of a fraud transactions and so on and so forth. So much benefit for the regulators, including of course the governments as well, if they start doing it on the for the implementation side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what are your thoughts on the current state of the blockchain adoption globally, and what do you think we'll see till the end of the year and a few years from now?
Uh, this will be like difficult to like predict that the mass level adoption of a blockchain. Uh, there are some challenges for the blockchain. It has like a kind of a myth. It is always connected with the cryptocurrencies. So even a very well-educated people I know, they are confusing cryptocurrencies with the blockchain. And blockchain is a technology. Cryptocurrencies is beyond technology. It's like a more than economic side of the new economic pattern, we can say, which is a distributed and decentralized type of a thing. People mix the both, and that's where the challenge for the blockchain adoption is. There are two types of blockchains. One is the permissioned, and one is non-permissioned, are the public ones. Normally people understand about the public ones, which is the bitcoins and the other cryptocurrencies. They are the public blockchains, are the non-permissioned blockchains. But when we talk about the application of blockchain at enterprise level, the other blockchain, which is the private blockchain, that has more utility, and that people need to understand. Okay, it has a different domain. It's like intranet and internet. Both, I'm not like against cryptocurrencies. Again, I always emphasize that people need to understand the value of cryptocurrencies rather than just going and doing the trading of the cryptocurrencies. Till the time we are in that mode, cryptocurrencies will also not be going to get a massive adoption. Rather, every day, like some government is coming up and putting a ban on it, uh, which a blanket ban on it, which is again a wrong thing those governments are doing. But we cannot challenge the governments. We have to like see what is available and what can be done. Blockchain people need to like evangelize about the fact that there is an application to the blockchain beyond trading, beyond the pluses and minuses of the numbers of against each cryptocurrencies. Till the time that is not happening, I don't see like people taking it as a at a mass adaptive level. So this is the next, I think, emphasize for the. This should be the next emphasis for all of the blockchain evangelists, that they need to tell people the applications, the strategic applications of blockchain.
The applications beyond the cryptocurrency itself.
Beyond cryptocurrencies. And that also, if we are talking about cryptocurrencies, we need to tell people the value of the cryptocurrencies, the beyond the just trading numbers. So what Monero is doing, what Ripple is doing, or what Ripple is offering, if not doing, if we don't know the what it is doing, at least we need to know what services it's a service basically. Ripple is providing a service. Bitcoin itself is providing a service, which is the exchange of the like a value, and so on and so forth. Ethereum has its own services or like value. We are not telling people that, and we are expecting that people should be like adapting the uh, cryptocurrencies. That will not happen. Yes, it will happen. There will be some kind of a hype. Hype will always go away. Once the hype will go away, the people will go back to the conventional or legacy systems. We need to now do the campaign for this, even the applications of cryptocurrencies, and of course the blockchain at enterprise level as well.
Well, some people speculate that in 10 years or less, we'll be only using cryptocurrencies as means of exchange. So you're saying that this might not be the case. Am I getting this right?
Look, those are the, I believe it's an extreme view. People do get adapt the changes, but it's always a slow one. And blockchain and the cryptocurrencies is a very disruptive technology. It is not just a technology which is people gonna adapt. It's an economic platform. It's a new economic like shift. We are moving from the centralized economic side to the decentralized economic side, and that is where people need to be like shifting their mindset, and that will not happen easily. It will require some number of years of application, use cases, and such things. When they will be happening, then only people will move for this economic shift or mindset shift. We are not there yet. From the very beginning of our like history of mankind, we always had a centralized figure, whether it's a government, whether it's some kind of elder who is taking care of the transaction or noting down the transaction between the two people, or if there is exchange of any kind of value, that is done through government, or that is done through bank, or that is done through some elderly figure. It's been happening since we began, a human race began. Now, if you think in 10 years it will go away, that's a very, very ambitious thought. I'm not against it, but it's a very, very ambitious timeline to think about that everything will be going from centralized to decentralized within 10 years or maybe even 20 years. I think both has its own value. Both complements each other. People will say, okay, it's like oil and water. No, there are like some areas where intermediaries, as probably I mentioned earlier, they have the big benefit from the blockchain to do their role effectively.
Can you elaborate a bit more on that when talking? What is the role of intermediaries in blockchain? Most people are actually considering them, removing them from the from the system.
Yeah, that's one of the projections about the people are like projecting blockchain for removing the intermediaries. But I think if we see the practical application of blockchain till now in last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we are coming up with the new intermediaries. For example, exchanges are new intermediaries, wallets are new intermediaries. The role of intermediaries got changed, but we have got, it's no more like, it's not just a peer-to-peer exchange of like data or exchange of transaction or value. There is an intermediary involved, and there will be more intermediaries involved. People who are against the regulations of blockchain, I doubt they will have to change their point of view. Yes, because of certain advantages that blockchain is giving to the intermediaries. I give an analogy that intermediaries are like grass, and blockchain is like a grass mower. Grass will not be looking good until and unless we do its mowing through the grass mower. And the intermediaries can go wild, which we have seen in the centralized world, unless they don't get some kind of a tapping or some kind of a transparency. They always act as a like a very outrageous kind of a entity. Blockchain will bring the transparency in their role, and that will help them, and that will help others to trust them, because the trust machine, which is the blockchain, is beside them or with them. So people, if they see the value of intermediaries, I think they need to see it with the blockchain. uh, Either it is like government or some kind of a bank or a regulatory authority, it has to be tied up with some kind of a blockchain application to make it more trustworthy, and more like things will be far more transparent for the intermediaries itself, and they will start using the blockchain applications.
So, so what you're saying is that maybe complete decentralization is not really possible.
I know I will be not considered as a like a pure out and out blockchain guy when I say this, but yes, as a pragmatic guy, I've been working in the corporate sector for 17 years now. I am a coach as well. I study the psychology of human beings. I work with them as well. We are not there yet. We need intermediaries to bring the trust in our life, and just bringing a technology. We are not there yet. We are not living in a machine age, or yes, we are living in an age of information, but we are not living in the age of machines yet, where we can trust the machines, where we can trust only the technology. I think the best part will be that we trust the human being who are utilizing the technology as an optimum level, or as in a right manner. So we can trust both the people as well, the technology as well. So that's, I think, the way forward in my view. Sooner it will happen. And the anarchist view, which is a very leftist view, that yes, remove the intermediaries, remove the governments, I don't think that will ever happen in for the human being, because we are not acquainted with that format. There are so many loopholes in that centralized government structures or centralized regulations, which I think the blockchain can help to remove those barriers, or like at least help to make us trust more on our governments and our banks and our other regulatory authorities.
And maybe make them more interconnected globally than they currently are.
A very nice point. I see there is a future of a blockchain of blockchains. Just like internet started with connecting some intranets, I believe there will be alone some cryptocurrency blockchains or the private blockchains will not be having a future. If we have to make it at a mass adaptive level, I see the future will be the blockchain of blockchains. There will be connectivity, interoperability between the blockchains, whether they are private blockchains, whether they are public blockchains, utility blockchains, or security blockchains, regulatory blockchains. The real value, like internet, will come when they all will get connected and they will exchange the information. They will become super efficient. They will become like more trustworthy, more transparent, more utility can be happen. Like I gave you the example of blockchain for the shipping industry, which Bitnautic is doing. Alone, that will not be very powerful. If there is a some kind of a blockchain for the port authorities of the whole globe, when it will combine, the both will combine, I think the results will be far more greater. And that's, if not in 2 3 years, I see in 5 years down the road, this will be happening. The blockchain of blockchains is the future.
Yeah. Well, we actually spoke with the guys from Aeon project. They are building this kind of a interconnection between blockchains. It was a very interesting conversation and learning about their work and then how they see this happening, building bridges between blockchains. So very interesting. All right. So what other challenges do you see in front of the technology? Can you share a few words on
Scale, yeah, scalability is the one at the moment. For example, when we talk about the public blockchains, POW, proof of work blockchains are having some challenge because of the energy consumption, and that probably lead to proof of scope more than the proof of work kind of blockchains. So that I don't
Can you
see.
explain what the proof of scope concept is, just for
Uh, like for example, at the moment we understand about one Ethereum and both uh, Bitcoin, the most famous blockchains. They are both on the proof of work concept. So they they do that. The algorithm they follow is that people have to go for the nodes as the miners, and the miners use the they use heavy energy consumptions, and in case of Ethereum, gas, to just convert the transaction into like a proper validate the transaction. That is now consuming so much of the energy, and there are like advocates against the blockchain because of this algorithm. And I believe if we move smoothly and in a coming time rapidly as well for the other algorithms, so then I think it will be far effective for the blockchain's adoption. That's one challenge which blockchain needs to be addressing, and it is addressing. There are like, again, it's a novice technology, and things are like researchers are working on this point, how they can take it to that other side of the algorithm, or consensus algorithm. So that's one of the challenge which blockchain experts are working on. Then we need,
I'm sorry
yeah.
to interrupt you, but I didn't understand what's the concept of the proof of scope and how is that different than the proof of work?
In work, there is like a miners who do the mining are in shape of some algorithms they perform on the machines. The graphic adapters are, which are normally these days people are using, and they are expensive. Putting them together in one as an infrastructure for the blockchain application is again an expensive thing. When we talk about the proof of scope, it's like more on this other side, that it's pre-mined tokens are generated, and then they are distributed based on the like different applications. So that is one of the area where people can use the. It will be far more helpful in that regard.
Okay, so what do you mean when you say that they're pre-mined?
Yes, they are pre-mined, and since they are pre-mined, there is no electricity consumptions involved, and similarly, there are no like big uh, intermediaries involved which are providing those infrastructure, and that will be again less cost effective. It will be more cost effective solution than the proof of work algorithm or consensus algorithm.
Okay. Let's shift the conversation a bit toward initial coin offerings, and what are your thoughts on that? And what would you recommend to ICO founders and ICO supporters?
I was like going through one article today, and that was not very healthy for the ICOs. And yes, it is like with every new phenomena, there are always people who try to like get the best. Uh, they like just get enter into that train and use it for their like negative advantages, and just abuse the system. And ICOs at the moment are also under that kind of a perception that so many of the ICOs which are happening at the moment are not happening in the right direction. There are like a bunch of people who think of some idea and they just come up with the token and they take it to the crowdfunding stage. And due to like several reasons, mainly because of the like the education part is not there for the investors yet. So they are like the investors or the participants of the ICOs, they are like just putting the money without seeing the like proper checklist of whether they should invest or they should participate in this ICO or not. ICOs, I believe the future of ICOs is relevant to the IPOs. There should be far more compliance when it comes to the ICOs, and that compliance can happen only when there will be a proper financial planning attached to the ICOs, when there will be a 5-year model for the startup, stringent kind of regulations, self-regulations, if not the like FINMA and some other governments. And FINMA from the Switzerland has regulated the guidelines for the ICOs in Switzerland. Not many other countries are regulating the ICOs. So you need to come up with your self regulations, KYC, AML, when you are getting the participation from some investors. Or we shouldn't call them an investor anymore because they come under as security tokens. So they are the participants basically. So when you are bringing in the participants who are like doing some crowdfunding in your project, you need to do the KYC, AML, all these practices which should be self-regulated if there's some kind of a government regulatory authority is not monitoring it. So ICOs, the only way they can move forward is if they do self-regulation, and it's not that difficult. See the examples of IPOs, how they are done, and then you can like come up with your own checklist of some parameters. Okay, these are the things which we have to provide to our participants, so that they will be ensured that this ICO will be actual project, not just an idea which will fade away after collecting their funds and start misusing those funds.
So do
So
you think new projects are maturing to that level already? In your observation, do you see that? Do you see more mature projects, and how they do they self-regulate already?
yes, AML and KYC, which I mentioned, is now pretty much all 90% of the ICOs are already started doing it. So even though they are not in some kind of a regulatory authority, which is like putting them under some kind of a pressure to do this, but still they are starting doing it. So that's one of the self-regulation already ICOs are doing. Similarly, as I mentioned about the Bitnautic, it's a Swiss-based ICO. So they are working on the guidelines of the FINMA. Other ICOs which are not like incorporated in Switzerland, but still they can see the guidelines being provided for the ICOs by the FINMA, and they can do the self-regulation according to that checklist, according to those guidelines. And this will help them, this will help their credibility when they will say, okay, we are regulated under the guidelines of FINMA, Switzerland's authority for the financial control. So this is the future for the ICOs. If they want to bring in a good name for them and for the ICOs, they need to be doing the self-regulations, and guidelines are available. They can just download those guidelines and check if they are performing their project according to those guidelines or not.
So do you think in the future ICOs will keep their crowd funding element inside, or do you think they will be moving more and more towards traditional institutional investments and venture capital?
Again, I think the both will go forward. If we see only the application of ICO for the projects, that will not be happening because ICOs are getting very bad name and deservingly so, because a lot of scams, a lot of unfulfilled promises by the ICOs are creating very difficult for even valid ICOs. We know number of ICOs which are legit, which are like credible, but they didn't get enough response from the participants because of this bad media the ICOs are now having with them. So I believe there will be a big challenge for ICOs starting the third quarter of this year, and then they need to come up with a very rigorous kind of due diligence by the other authorities as well, and plus the just as you mentioned, the crowdfunding platforms, they need to also be having a proper due diligence to do the ICO funding or ICO participation.
Yeah, because the way I see it, ICOs is some sort of a hybrid between the IPO model and the crowdfunding model. And this is actually what I like about it, that it gives chance to the crowd to participate, to take part in projects they like, without borders, even in some cases. And but do you think we will see less of that in the future with the regulations, with the self-regulations, and with the authority regulations coming in?
Future is definitely there. Like I'm not like portraying a very bleak pictures for the ICOs. Currently, 90% of the ICOs are not successful. There are reasons for that, and those reasons are very simple. They are coming up unprepared. Yes, in 2017 there was a frenzy period for the ICOs. People were like making good inroads when it comes to the ICOs with doing less. But now the founders need to do a lot. They need to come up with the proper technology and use case. The biggest point is the use case of their ICO. It's no more a valid thing that you just prepare a 10 to 20 page white paper, one very graphical kind of a website, and that, okay, yes, this is my project, this is my promise to the world, and just give me millions of dollars and I'll come up with the goods. And the moment you get those millions of dollars, you disappear, you just use them in like a non-appropriate manner, and that has caused a big challenge for the valid ICOs, legit ICOs of 2018. And things are getting tougher and tougher for them. And the participants are no more trusting them easily. But yes, this is how it always happened. The market gets mature, and the maturity will, the education brings up the maturity, the experiences bring up the maturity. And I believe there will be a future for ICOs, but if they do a self-regulations, otherwise, no. Nobody will trust them.
All right. Well, as we're coming to a close, Muhammad, would you like to add anything else to the discussion, and anything else you would like to share with our community here?
I will like reiterate a couple of points which I have mentioned in my discussion already. There's one, the value of regulations for the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies itself. It, if there is a future, the future is with the regulations. I'm not saying regulations like a centralized or a very stereotype of regulations. The regulations which can just accommodate the adoption of blockchain or decentralized economic system for the people. And that's one of the things which I would like to share. Second, the people who are in the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies, they need to now bring forward the value of blockchain, not just the hype of the blockchain, not just the, okay, it will change the world. How? Don't just do the promises, bring up some kind of a value. The biggest argument of the blockchain, anti-blockchain people is, where is the valid blockchain use case which we can see and which we can say, okay, yes, blockchain has a future, blockchain is a future, etc. So today we discussed about the application of blockchain by the Dubai government. There are other initiatives as well. Other governments and other entities are also taking care of that. So we need to bring them forward to bring the right picture of the blockchain. I'm not saying the rosy picture of the blockchain, but the right picture of the blockchain is required rather than the hype of the blockchain. Already in the Gartner's hype curve, blockchain is on the decline. If you see, Google it, you will find that it is already on a decline and it will go further down. So the only way for the blockchain evangelists and people who are involved, they need to bring forward the right value of blockchain rather than just a hype of the blockchain.
Yeah, that's a very important point indeed. All right. Well, thank you very much, Muhammad, for being here and for this insightful conversation. I'm sure it was very useful for everyone. And yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Victoria, for having me. And I wish everyone a good luck. And there will be a future for blockchain for everyone. So just find out your space. And there is like a space for the startups. There is space for the individuals. There is a space for regulators. So it's for everyone. It's like internet of the coming time. So find out your space in the blockchain and just dig deep in it. Thank you for having me.